Sorry to interrupt, but this call is now being recorded.
Welcome to a briefing call of the Interagency Task Force on Israeli Arab Issues on local elections in Israel's Arab society, campaigns, outcomes, and internal trends with your host, Liron Shoham. Go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's call. There were municipal elections in Israel on October 30th, including in 76 Arab municipalities. These elections, held every 5 years, determine mayors and heads of local and regional councils, as well as city and local council representatives. In Arab society, local elections are widely regarded as more significant than national elections. They draw high numbers of candidates, far greater turnout among Arab citizens than do general elections, and for the most part result in high turnover of leadership. They're also accompanied by local outbursts of violence. What is the basis for this great significance of local elections in Arab society? What is their relationship to state minority discourse? What are the changing trends within Arab society that can be seen through the campaigns and the outcomes? For example, the changing role of traditional families, the efforts among young professionals to change the face of local leadership, the record number of women candidates that ran, and perhaps the not that high number of women that were actually elected into office. What do these trends tell us about internal dynamics and forces in Arab society? Today, we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Hana Swaid, former MK, former mayor of Eilabun, and chair of the Arab Center for Alternative Planning, and Najami Yousef, director of leadership initiatives at the Abraham Initiative. They will share with us insights into these internal dynamics. Hana will begin first. Each will speak for 10 to 15 minutes. Dr. Swaid will begin with a discussion of the overall trends revealed in these elections, and Ola will follow with a discussion of insights into the changing role of women's leadership. If you received the email this morning, there was an attachment, which is Ola's PowerPoint, to be used in conjunction with her presentation. And after they both speak, we'll have time for Q&A. I expect a really interesting and dynamic discussion. Thank you to our speakers. Hana, please, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm Dr. Hana Swaid. I'm sure you had my CV. And I want to jump directly into the pool and say that the local government elections in Israel are the most interesting political issue in the life of the Arab citizens of the State of Israel. Every 5 years, we have huge campaigns all over the Arab township with huge participation from all parts of the society. Just to have, a sense of the scale of participation, the turnout in the local elections in the Arab towns is about 90%, 85-90%, compared with about 50 to 40% in the national elections, which means that the Arab citizens have a huge interest in the local government compared with the national politics. Let's put it in this way. And the reason for that is that the Arab citizens look at the local government and understand the local government as their own, as it's very close to them, and they have immediate impact. They can change, they can affect things, and they can characterize their way of governance and everyday life, and local issues mainly, leadership issues, education, social, and services, infrastructure, and other things. That's the reason why the local government is very important. There's another reason, actually, that according to the Arab traditions, the leadership in the society goes for the powerful actors in the society. It might be the family or the clan or the neighborhood or or the religion or the faith of certain religion. And that's the reason why people take it so personally, so important, and they want their group or their neighborhood, as I described, to lead the town or the village. So there are many other parameters that push people to participate more and more. And in addition to the lack of interest, or sometimes it's not lack of interest, it's that national politics are much higher in scale. They are centered in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and in the Jewish majority. So the Arab citizens feel that it's not their game, and they just keep their potential for the local government. That's the reason why the turnout and the participation is, as I said, is almost twice in the local government than in the national politics. Especially in the last elections a month ago, or less than a month ago, is the impact of the nation-state law, which actually characterized or described Israel as a state of the Jewish nation, which contributed more to the trend that the Arab citizens are more focused on their local governance rather than the national governance. But the trend was there before the nation state. So I can say that it might be that the nation state law contributed to this trend, but it existed even before. I want to say at the outset that this involvement and the huge participation of the Arab citizens in the local elections is good for the integration of the Arab minority in Israel in the political life and in the Israeli society in general. It's a democracy feast, actually. That's the way we look at, and the laymen and the normal Arab citizens actually look at it's a democracy feast, and everybody has a vote and he can impact and affect things, and everybody understands that's a part of the Israeli democracy, and people appreciate that and know that very, very well, and they actually participate and utilize their role and the right they got according to the system in Israel, which means that the whole scene actually contributes to the integration of the Israeli Arab society into the general Israeli society. Why the Arab citizens are so interested in the local government, in addition to what I said, and especially in the recent elections, we can see that more young generation are involved in the elections. We normally had traditional leadership. That's the heads of the clans, of the large families, extended families, who were responsible, and the young men actually obeyed what these old people and old leadership wanted things to happen. But the last few elections, let's say since 20 years until now, 4 elections, more and more young men are trying to capture more status in the local leadership, and they are succeeding. And I can say that in the last elections, most of the mayors which were elected are young men. Young men, I mean people from 30 to 50, maximum 60 years old. That's most of the mayors that I know about. Probably there's few, 5, 6, more than 60 years, but I would say the average age would be 40, 45 years, which is quite new trend in the local leadership. So young men are actually pushing themselves and trying harder and harder to be involved in the leadership of their communities. I can point at also more interest from women and women participation in the elections, not as voters only, but also as candidates, and I believe Ola will extend on that more and more. It's very important point. It's a game changer. It's not yet a game changer, but it can contribute in the future to change the rules of the game. It's fine. I think the number of elected women in the municipalities is much higher than the previous term, and that's great. That's important. What brings young people to lead and to be mayors in the local authorities is that they want to improve the situation and the conditions of their societies, especially by providing more services, especially education. Education is conceived as a major game changer in the development of the Arab society in Israel, and everybody now focuses on education. It's not done locally only. It has to be cooperation between the local leadership, the municipality, and the Ministry of Education. And I have to say that in the last few years, the Ministry of Education, under the leadership of Bennett, is doing well in improving the emphasis, in emphasizing the importance of mathematics and English in the education process in the Arab towns. And you can find now few Arab towns that are really leading on the national scale by their results in the Bagrut or matriculation or whatever in the high schools. So education is getting more interest and emphasis and focus from the local leadership, from the municipalities, improving the infrastructure, whether it's transportation, providing more and more housing solutions. So far, the housing was the major plight in the Arab towns and villages. Planning, master plans, providing diversity in housing solutions. This is still probably the major problem and the major plight in the Arab municipalities. Almost all of the mayors are focusing and putting more and more interest and potential in providing more housing solutions because of the role of the municipalities in planning and providing housing solutions. This is a very major local issue where you have to provide solutions for housing in your community, within your community. That's the reason why the municipality is heavily involved in that. Not like education, also the municipality is involved, but mainly education is provided by the central government. Planning and local planning is under the authority of the local government. So planning and housing solutions is very important in the municipality and the role of the municipality. I have to say a few words about the 922 government decision, which was taken about 3 years ago, and it involves allocating about 15 billion shekel to improve the infrastructure and to improve the education and other arenas, other fields of life in the Arab society by a heavy investment from the central government. It has been underway for the last 2-3 years, especially the last 2 years. Things are happening, and more budgets and are allocated to different, mainly public building and infrastructure. I believe that we still have 2 years, 19 and 20, 2019, 2020, to go within this 922 program. And I believe that the new mayors will be eager, will be happy, and they have the potential, as far as I know, many of them, to make use and to maximize the use of the budgets provided by the 922 program. Because, as I said, they are interested. The major thing that pushes them into the local political arena is to make impact and to contribute in the development. When they have the finances coming from the central government and they are newly elected mayors, I anticipate that most of them will be happy to make use of the 922 and even to put more pressure in the future during their term to continue the 922 program. That's actually, I take the opportunity here to say that my organization, the Arab Center for Alternative Planning, is working now on the continuation of 922. I mean, 922 made a huge appetite among the Arab citizens in order to have more central government budgets for enacting development programs in the Arab localities. We want to increase that and to stretch that to the future and to cover other fields which were not covered by the 922 program. So I think that the new generation of mayors will be interested in acting and cooperating with the central government, with the different ministers, with the Minister of Housing and Transportation and Education, and all of the relevant ministers and ministries in order to make use of the budgets provided by the government in order to improve the infrastructure and to generate economic development and job generation. Probably it's important to mention that also, that why is there so interest in the local government? Because the local governments are provide jobs for many people in each locality. And because of the lack of jobs in the Arab society, which means that because there are no industrial zones, there are no jobs in the Arab municipalities, Arab laborers and jobs are created actually far away, not in the Arab towns and villages. And many people have to commute every day to go to Haifa and Tel Aviv and, mainly the Jewish towns and cities in order to work there. Local government provides jobs within the municipalities. And that's the reason why, the municipalities are the employer, actually, and they provide jobs for the people. That's the reason why many people find that the municipality is a potential employer for them in the future. And that, of course, creates by itself interest in who leads and who rules, actually, the municipality and the local government. A very interesting point, which I mention all the time, and I think it's a challenge for the political parties who are active in the Arab society, is the lack of the role of the established Arab parties in the local elections. Most of the elections in the Arab municipalities are not within the framework of political parties, like the political parties which are represented in the Knesset, within now the joint list, with 13 members of the Knesset within the joint list. The parties which comprise the joint list are not active, except Hadash, which is active in the local government, local elections. All the other parties do not run in the local elections. Even Hadash does not go with all of its potential into the local government. So actually, there's a political vacuum actually in the local elections in the Arab towns and villages. And most of the people who run the elections, who compete in the elections, are on local basis, local organizations, local parties, but not the national ones. The national ones are almost absent, except Hadash, from the local elections. And that's actually a challenge for the political parties. Because of the huge interest of the people in local elections, so actually people are more and more familiar with their local loyalties, and they forget about the national politics. And that's the reason, actually, why the participation in the national elections is low compared with the participation in the local elections. As I said, it's between 90% and 50%. It's almost twice. The challenge for the national parties is to be involved more in the local elections. That actually will weaken the role of the Khamula, which is very traditional. Despite the fact that I mentioned also that Khamulut, also this traditional structure, they support the best of their people. They do not rely on the traditional leadership, the old guard. They put forward, they push, and they run young people, normally educated, well-educated academics, like lawyers. There are many lawyers who are mayors, engineers, doctors, physicians, academics, graduates. But again, back to the point that I believe and I urge all the time the political parties to be involved in the local elections and not to forget about them and just to focus on the national elections, because with time that will weaken the relationship between the parties and the people and the base, actually, which is very, very important. Just to finalize, just to say that one of the results of these elections is that the rivalries that are created, that develop in the local campaigns, might have some reflections on the national politics and on the unity of the united list, of the joint list. The last 1 or 2 weeks, I can see that there are a few losers and winners who are trying and speaking about the possibility of creating another party which might compete or challenge the united or the joint list. This is not the bottom line yet, but there's a trend, or I noticed that there are some people who are trying to do that. So this might be the reflection from the local elections to the national elections. Just to conclude by saying that I'm happy with the results from the last elections, of the recent elections. I think that they provided a good group of new mayors, young, educated. I think that they are serious in taking the issues and leading their communities to better future and to impact, to have economic development, creating jobs, and taking their communities to be more integrated into the Israeli society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hana. Ola, let's quickly move on to your presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Liron. Thank you all for this opportunity. As you see in the presentation that I want to talk about, I want to talk about the Arab women entering the public life, especially.
Oh yes, Ola, I want to interrupt you a second. Everyone, this is now with Ola's presentation. There is a PowerPoint that was sent this morning. You can email me directly if for some reason you did not receive it, but now is the time to open that up. Thank you. Ola, please. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start from the second slide. In this slide, I'm going to talk about multiple challenges for me as an Arab woman, citizen of Israel. We face and suffer from three circles of discrimination. The first circle as a member of national minority who faced discrimination in Israel. And the second one, and important circle for me to mention, that we are part of patriarchal society. And when I said patriarchal society, I mean from the beginning that I didn't have the opportunity to be part of a leader who lead and making decision in the local public life. And when I have a look to the local election 2 weeks ago, we can see clearly that the election system, as Dr. Hana said, was a so patriarchal system. Most of the list who are candidates are families list or hamulas list, and the women are not there because it's not acceptable for women to be representative or to be in the head of the list. And the opportunity to be candidate, it's about the women list. For example, the Druze woman from Isafia, she built a woman list, cooperate with cooperate and representative active women from their town, and it's also in Shfar'am and also in Kfar Yassif or Mghar or Kufr Qasim. This is the opportunity that we have to be candidate in the election, to have a woman list, because we cannot be from the family list or Hamula list. And the second opportunity to be part of the political and movement parties. And the reality, and I gonna say that with weakness and concern, that we faced weakness of the political and the movement parties. Especially in the local election, although they are stronger in the national level, but we really faced in 10 years ago that we have more weakness of the political and movement parties. Just Hadash, which is in some towns, I think it's 7 towns or 6 towns even. And the third circle that I faced discrimination in is as a part from all the women in Israel. On slide 3, actually, you can see that yes, we have more women are employment, we have more women are educated, but the result of the recent election provide to us that when it's come to politics, the Arab women still have long way to go. If I want to talk history about women in election or women in public life, if you can see in slide 4, you can see that since 1948, only 73 women elected to a local council. We do we do a little bit improved in the election 2013, and 47 Arab council had no woman candidate at all. The election, the last election, we can see that in 13 Arab council had no woman candidate at all from 76 council. And since 48, we just have one woman ever been has a lead as a mayor in local authority from Kfar Yousef, and it was for 6 months in a rotation agreement. We do have more women candidates as a member for the local authority, but as a mayor and as a head of the local authority, we are not there. This election, we just have one woman from all the local authority in Israel that she ran to be a mayor for Kfar Qara. On slide 5, we have more strong women in local public life. We have the responsibility to empower women to be there, and for that, a lot of organization in Israel, 28 organization work more in the Arab society to bring and to give more skills for women and more training for women to bring them to the local to the public life. And in this election, 28 organization, Arab and Jewish organization, because when we are talking about women in local authority, we talk about all the women in Israel. There is a coalition called Mikumiyot, Abraham Initiative, part of this coalition, and we have the responsibility in this campaign about the Arab society to bring or to push more women to be part and participate in the election. And the campaign work in 4 levels. The 1 level in slide 6 show that Mikumiyot work with the decision maker who signed a convention to have more women in their list in the local authority, local election. We build networking of women from the society to improve and to help us to help each other to be in this atmosphere, and more women in public discourse. And on the end of the campaign, we talk to the community, to our society, to Arab society, to raising awareness in a public sphere about the importance to choose list who candidate women. And we ask the people to vote or to choose the equal list that they have in their towns. And on slide 7, you can see, although we still not succeed and not in a very high result, but we see more women candidate and participate the local election. From the left side, you can see in 2008, 149 women are candidate to the election. 6 of them are succeed. In 2013, 300 women are candidate, and 16 of them they are succeed. And in 2018, 367 women are candidate. 27 of them they are elected to the election to be part or to be elected in on the office in the local authority. It's not a very high number, but I think slowly every 5 years, if we can have more women and if we can bring more training or more skills for women to be in this local public life, I think it will change, or it will be more more effective society. When I talk about what women faced in this election, I can see and I can highlight several trends in this election that we faced and we still faced after the results come on. In slide 8, you can see that this election we have higher voter turnout because, as Hana said, that the local council, it's very important for the Arab society, and they do really believe that they have the power to be there. We faced more violence in the Arab community, and the Abraham initiative work also to build to empower the society and to have more safe society. Because this election we faced a lot of violence until now. After the result, we say street violence. We see and we see that in the street illegal weapons in all the towns and the villages in the Arab society. We do face shaming of women candidates. Women take a risk when standing for office. It's very hard for us as a woman in a patriarchal society, and we see the effect of the social media, the negative effects of the social media. We see the violence in the social media between women and between people who are candidates to the election. In the end, I do believe that we are part of the Arab society. We deserve political representation, and we have the right to say in how our society looks. We have the right to be there and to affect in our society. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. So we have a little bit of time left for questions. Operator, if you can instruct people on how to ask a question, and I'm also welcoming people to write me over email. That's Liron, Liron, S as in Sam, @jdc.org, if you would like to send some questions in to me.
All right. If you'd like to ask a question, please press #1 on your phone. That's #1 if you'd like to ask a question.
In the meantime, I'll start us off. There's a lot of discussion about these elections, about the rise of a young professional class that is really getting more involved, as you spoke about, Hana, in the local elections. In some cases, they're described as running in opposition to the stronghold of the hamulas, the large extended families. But it seems that you're speaking about that in a bit more of a nuanced way. Can you explain a little bit? Can you give us a little bit of insight about what the criticisms are about traditional rule, the family rule, and how that might be changing, both with this young class and within the families?
Well, the trend is to have young men running for the position of mayorship, whether they represent the family, the clan, or they represent themselves or any civil society organization. So the trend is that you have more young men running for mayorship. Now, some of them, if they are backed by a clan, for them that improves their possibility to win, and they would make use of that. In some occasions, despite the fact that you are a young man and in principle you are against traditional belonging to the family or to the clan, but as politician, let's remember that we are talking about politics and about contests, so that any element of power that you can use, that you would use that. Even you are educated and a young man, if you can find a clan that supports you, then you will use that. So in some occasions, the young men actually rely on the support of a clan in order to win. In principle, I know that they are not fans of the clan. They would prefer political parties. But in the lack of political parties who are interested in running the contest in the local government and in the municipalities, then they would find the only alternative for them is to run under the umbrella of the clan that provides them with more support. But as I said in the beginning, that having this group of young mayors, that would create some sort of momentum towards renewal of the leadership of the Arab society, which used to be until 15, 20 years ago 100% almost clans and old generation, with all the respect I have to old generation, of course. But normally you wouldn't find young people there or professional leaders or professional mayors like what I mentioned, lawyers and engineers and so on. They were traditional leaders of their clans. So now the picture is completely different. Even people who are who run the elections with the support of the clan, they are young people that they are successful and they have good opportunity to fulfill their plans and to improve and develop their society.
Thank you. I have a question from email, and then we'll check on the line as well. Religious and Haredi women in Israeli Jewish society have also experienced harassment and intimidation for their involvement in politics and elections. Has there been any dialogue between Arab women and Jewish women on this front and brainstorming on these strategies? Ola, this is for you.
Actually, yes, and it was very highlight in the coalition also for the Arab community and for the Jewish community, because what Haredi women faced, it's the similar what the Arab women faced in it. And yes, they are linked together, and the Arab women and the Arab organization improve and have a work with the Haredi women, and we have a bagat. I don't know what is in English, that the Haredi women...
An appeal to the Supreme Court?
Yes.
A petition to the Supreme Court?
The Jewish Haredi women going to the court to have the right to be in the election. And yes, we have one woman in Bet Shemesh that she's a Haredi woman. She's succeed and she's the mayor there.
Yes.
I would like you decide when, but I would like to say a few words about local elections in mixed cities where there are Arab citizens and Jewish citizens together, living together, like in Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Akko, and other cities.
Yes, it's a very important point. Operator, are there any questions on the line, or should we move on to the mixed cities?
There are no questions at this time.
Okay, then Hana, please, about the mixed cities.
Okay, I have to mention that almost 10% of the Arab population, 1.5 million, about 10% of them live in mixed cities. I do not include, of course, Jerusalem, where the Arab citizens there are about 350,000 citizens, about 35% of the total population of Jerusalem. But the Arab population of Jerusalem boycott the elections and do not participate because of political reasons, which everybody knows about, and I do not want to extend on that. In the other mixed cities like Tel Aviv, there is a joint list under the leadership of Hadash, which runs the elections there, participate in the elections there. And normally it gets support from Jewish and Arab voters. The Arab voters come from Yafo, and the Jewish supporters come from Yafo and from Tel Aviv. And normally they are represented in the municipal council by at least one member. Even the last elections, there was a candidate for mayorship, MK Dov Khanin, who got about 30% of the total vote for the mayorship. He was not elected, but he got huge support from all parts of the city, and he ran under Hadash. This year, also Hadash participated in the elections there, representing both Jewish and Arab voters, and it won a seat there. But from Yafo, there are other Arab lists which ran the elections as well. In Haifa also there is a joint list, a mixed list for Jewish and Arab voters in Haifa, and it normally is represented in the municipality, and many times
3 members on it.
Two members. This year there are 2 members in the council there. But in the other mixed cities like Ramle, Lud, and Akko, the Arab citizens run the elections in independent lists. They got representation, of course, there in Ramle and Lud, in Akka, but not in mixed lists. In Natseret Alit, there's an Arab, which is now a mixed city with about 20% of the population Arabs. There's an independent Arab list there. There's no mixed list representing Jews and Arabs. But that's the fact of life in the mixed cities in Israel, where Hadash was pushing all the time to have joint lists representing Arabs and Jews, but this is not succeeding so far.
Hana, there were very divisive campaigns in some of the mixed cities in advance of the elections, where some of the more right-wing candidates were some of the discourse about Jewish-Arab relations was actually used to divide the population. How do you see the results in the gaining of seats by Arab or Jewish-Arab parties, if you can generalize, as a response to those campaigns? Is there a correlation?
Yes.
Or can you speak about that results?
Yes, of course. Where this phenomena was, well seen, and extreme right parties actually were using and inciting against the Arab population in these cities, like in Ramli. The reaction was a huge involvement and turnout among the Arab citizens and supporting the Arab list there, which actually succeeded very well in the local elections and got 6 seats in the council, which means that the reaction was very, very strong reaction by the Arab citizens. I have to say also that among Jewish leaders in these cities were a huge criticism of using this, incitement against the Arab citizens, because they consider them as part of the city, citizens of the city, and do not agree for using these, incitements against the Arab population as reason for, getting more support from the Jewish electorate. So actually, this failed in Ramli, and I know about some slogans which were removed as a result of the criticism and the reaction from Jewish leadership, local leadership against them, which emphasized the unity of the whole citizens of the city, and that, whatever unites them is more than what divides them. That's the experience with Ramli. I don't know about other places, despite the fact that there might be, but I don't know, some incitement against the impact and the coalition that might Arab citizens, create with the candidates for mayorship or whatever. I know that from the past, not from the last elections. I know in Akko there were such, a coalition between Arab voters or Arab lists with a mayorship candidate, and where the Arabs should support the Jewish candidate, and that actually got criticism from other Jewish extremists. But I don't know, I can't speak about the last elections because I didn't hear about such phenomena.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll do a very shameless plug for the task force. We are finalizing a paper that covers a lot of these subjects, and there's a section that does go into what you spoke about in Ramle and a few of the mixed cities. That should be out in, knock on wood, hopefully a few days. Ola, a question for you about the impact, the influence of the number of women campaigning and this decades-long effort to increase the numbers of women's participants. You spoke about the resistance and some of the violence and the shaming that was directed at them. But how is this wave, can you speak a little bit about how this wave affected campaign discourse, and if you see any change in the receptivity to women's participation as a result of these long-term efforts?
Yes. Actually, I do believe that when we have more women in this local atmosphere, yes, it will bring the gender agenda for the local council. I think that women can direct and they can bring a positive issue for the local council as a part from the society, and we can see the effects of more women if they are in the planning of the city. They said they talk about the women needs in the local committees, and they bring women issue for the local committees in the local council. They can influence about the education of their children in their society. I can give you an example. In Kfar Qasim, the woman said that we need to have in the street a place that I can go with my children on, and they can affect on the planning committee there to have a space for women who can go out with their children and to be more mungash.
Accessible, more accessible
for women
yeah.
with their children. And if women cannot be in this committee, so we cannot bring the gender issue to this committee. We cannot bring the gender voice of the woman to this local council. And I think as a woman and as a mom and as a part of this society, I can bring the voice of all the people in my society to the local council.
Thank you. Operator, are there any questions waiting on the line?
Yes, we have one question, and I'm opening the line now. Your line is now being unmuted. Please state your name and your question.
Hi, this is Dina Charnan from the National Council of Jewish Women, NCJW. Thank you so much, Liron and the task force, for this great call, and thank you, Hana and Ola. Ola, I have a question. Also, Hana can answer this. Connected to what you were talking about before, I was wondering, since you were discussing this trend, both of you were discussing this trend in the rise of young professional men, I was wondering if you think that will bring a change, or if they have a change in attitude towards women's leadership. Have they talked about it at all? Have they mentioned it? And still might what the challenges be? And connected to that, can you just give us a couple of examples of some successful women who were elected in specific towns, and what were the conditions that allowed them to be successful? Thank you.
And this will be the last question because we are almost out of time. So please, Hana and Ola, if you can respond. Thank you.
Well, I'll respond and let Ola then extend on that. I know from my experience, a neighboring town to my town, Ailabun, the neighboring town is Maghar. Maghar with a Druze majority. The Druze society is very traditional. I know that the leading or the first candidate in the list of Hadash in this very traditional town is a woman, is a lady with a PhD in social sciences. And despite the fact that, there never, ever was a candidate, a woman candidate, she won representation in the council, and almost she got the second seat also. It ran under, within Hadash list in Maghar. So I think that, it depends on the candidates, whether they are really, successful and they have credentials to show. This lady has credentials. She has experience in community work, and whenever you have these credentials, I think the society will accredit you. The second point is, very briefly, is that the new generation of mayors, they are familiar. They studied in the universities with young women, and they know very well the role of women in leading the society. So I believe that in the bottom line and the end result of their leadership would be more involvement of women within the life, the political and the social life of the Arab society and the local government in the Arab towns.
Also, I want to add if we change the picture and we have more women in the local council, we automatically raising awareness for the society that it's legitimate for women to be in this atmosphere. And we do see in the last election the cities and the towns that they have candidate more women. We faced less violence in there, and its effects because the women bring سياق أخير. How can I say that?
Conversation. Different conversation.
Discourse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Different.
And we see that on the villages and the towns that they have more women candidates. We have less violence in the street. We have less shaming for women, and we have a good campaign in the social media. And in the town and villages that they didn't have women at all in, we see the more violence, more shaming, and more strong violence campaign in the social media. And yes, when we have women, it affects for positive rights.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have unfortunately run out of time. We will send out a brief that expands on the issues that both Ola and Hana raised, and this call will be recorded if anybody wants to listen in or share it with colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola and Hana, of course, for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. The call has now ended. Have a great day.
Thank you.